Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the World Championship Series Europe Season 3 Premier League Group C. We are over halfway through the group stages here in the round of 16. We already know 4 of our players through to the round of 8 next weekend. But who's going to join them? We're about to find out. Our first man through the top of the bracket as ForGG and Genius go head-to-head. Apollo's with me. Interesting couple of games, but not really spectacular games, I would say. I mean, Showtime put up a decent fight in the first game, probably more than we thought, getting that one map. But then Genius, ruthless, really. It just rolled through Nurcio. Were you expecting that?
Not at all. Not at all, actually.
Good. It wasn't just me then.
No, not just you. I think the people's opinions on Genius are going to change from series to series because, as mentioned earlier, he's coming to this tournament with hardly anything behind him in 2013, so nobody really knows what to expect. And then he comes in, and he really does wipe the floor against Nurcio. And with a quick 2-0, all of a sudden, if anybody had asked you earlier on, what happens if ForGG and Genius meets? I think everyone says, easy 2-0 ForGG. But now you've got to question that. Is that really what we're going to see after what we just saw from Genius against Nurcio?
Yeah, I mean, I was genuinely gobsmacked by how quickly Genius disposed of Nurcio. It wasn't just the fact that he won 2-0, it was the way that he won 2-0. It was almost like he came in and he went, okay, I'm going to build like this, and I don't really care what he's doing. I'm just going to do this, and that's what's going to happen. And there was almost no resistance from it. I mean, you said, I think there was a point in the commentary where you said, he has no information right now. He has no idea what's coming. And that summed it up perfectly, really. He had no idea. ForGG doesn't really strike me as the same kind of player, so presumably this is going to be a very different match.
Absolutely. I really think that Nurcio made mistakes. I think he knows he made mistakes. But coming into this next match, ForGG isn't going to make those kind of mistakes. He will be looking if Genius was to play a very similar style. But one thing that we should note, throughout all of WCS this week in the round of 16, there's always 2 Protoss players. And there's an advantage if you are playing second, not first. For Genius now, he goes into this next match having watched his opponent play a Terran versus Protoss. So if he studied his opponent like he may have looked at Nurcio a little bit, he definitely would have seen ForGG against Showtime. And now Genius is a smart guy. Some believe it, some don't, right, Red Eye? But
yeah,
you know, he's gonna break this down, and he's gonna know how to play against ForGG. So this actually is rather an interesting series now.
Yeah, I mean, it was obvious that he'd done his homework on Nurcio, brain or no brain, as far as MC is concerned. It was obvious to us that he'd done his homework. Has he done his homework well enough on ForGG? We know how good he is. We know how good he can be. Does Genius look at that first matchup with ForGG's and think, hey, he lost that second map when he thought he was going to win it, and actually, that might be a little bit of a chink in the armour there.
Yeah, I really think that the Genius is going to look at this series and go, all right, well, you play today, and usually normally, as Grubby pointed out, that a lot of Protoss players in the European scene know how he plays a greedy style. 1 barracks to support 3 command centers very early on. You've got no defense, you could be in trouble. Genius now knows that information, and does he build a strategy like we just saw against Nurcio to kill it? Does he play greedy like Showtime does, but with stronger and better execution to make sure that he doesn't die like in Game 3? Or, the spin-off of all of this, what happens if ForGG knows this? What does ForGG do? Does he play the same style, even though he showed it already?
Yeah, it's a game of chess in many ways, and we're about to find out which one of these has got game. It is Genius versus ForGG for the place in the round of 8. A big game for both of them, and it's coming right up. Will it be the clanless Genius, it's incredible to think that he's clanless, or Millennium's ForGG? Let's hand it over to your commentary team. For this one, we have Kalaris and Grubby. Take it away, guys.
Thank you very much, guys. Clanless. I haven't heard the term clan as opposed to team for quite a while, actually. Oh, wait. Red Eye's a Counter-Strike guy, so maybe that's why it is.
Actually, in RTS, the meaning of a clan and a team is different. Clan is a group of people that you band together with for fun, and team is the professional team. And it took me a while to get to understand that back in Warcraft 3, because for me it was synonymous.
Yeah.
Maybe he's both clanless and teamless and friendless.
Oh.
No, I'm just kidding. I think he has a lot of friends.
Yeah.
And a clan too, probably.
Probably. Yeah, actually, I think, if I recall, I think he does.
If you imagine, he left Azubu, but it's not like he's not talking to the Azubu guys anymore,
No,
or
of
the
course.
other people that left it. That's your clan. and it stays forever, just like family.
All right.
So,
Well, we have ForGG versus Genius here, and Yunsu is removed first from ForGG. This seems to be quite a trend that's going on. Again, even Polar Knight being removed by Genius, so moving away from the newer maps, going back to the old is not surprising.
Frost being removed.
Yeah.
Yeah, going really to the old maps, and if Derelict Watcher goes away, then we'll have full circle indeed with Akelon, Belcher, Wellwood. Have to wait and see.
Yeah, now...
Give the man some time to think.
Now-
He doesn't need it.
Maybe he doesn't need it. He's a genius, man. He knows everything. Well, the thing is about this series is that Genius must have, absolutely must have, watched the series of ForGG versus Showtime.
Yeah, well, I can confirm it. I was an eyewitness.
Ah, perfect.
I will not testify, but I'm telling you here, just you and me.
Oh, okay. Cool stuff. Well, and that means that now Genius has a little bit of a window into ForGG's play. Now, if you were that Protoss, if you were the Protoss going up against ForGG after witnessing that, what's your kind of mentality going into this series?
There's two directions to walk, and
Okay.
it's kind of like crossing a street. You look left, you look right. Well, he's already done that. And then once you start walking, keep walking. Don't stand still in the middle and say, oh, should I go back? That card's getting close. You either keep walking or you just stay on one side. Should I explain the analogy? I think I should.
Let's go. Keep
Judging
going.
from your look.
I was waiting for a little more to keep
Yeah.
going, but...
I was too, but it was too funny to pause there. He's going to have to go extremely greedy straight from the get-go, because by the time he scouts extreme greed from ForGG, he's kind of missed his window already, ironically. The question is, can you even react? Well, Showtime showed that you can. You
Yes.
can win games where you don't get the info, you don't go extreme, you play safe, but it's hard. It's hard. So is he going to go with a meticulous approach of extreme greed, or will he go down the avenue of going for a very quick attack, something like we saw MC do, but certainly which Genius is no stranger to? Something that comes to mind is Oracle Void Ray, Void Ray, Void Ray,
Oh,
which
yeah.
he did in GSTL.
Yeah, that's something that I'm pegging him towards the latter. I am pegging him towards, that aggression road, and I think that we will probably see that, because there are openings in ForGG's play. If ForGG plays the same way, we're assuming here that he is going to play the same way. He could entirely change it up, knowing that Genius is a player who likes to go for aggression and makes it work quite well.
Yeah, it would be a dangerous assumption indeed if we did assume that he's going to play exactly the same carbon
Yes.
copy of his first series. And he may go into the match against Showtime saying, I can beat you with standard play, whether that's true or not. In this case, it was true, but
Yeah.
it could have gone the other way. And against Genius, he might say, well, I have to play a little bit more middle road.
Now, again, these win percentages here are based on very small numbers in WCS, so you can't take them as complete rule that it's 100%. They're over like 1 or 2 series, not too much.
Yeah.
And on the other side of things, though, ForGG, his numbers are over a lot of series. He has participated in a lot of Tier 1s as well as WCS, and against Protoss, not too bad. He's done well for himself.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if he missed more than 2 or 3 WCS point events in the European region and
He was
the
at a
open
lot.
ones. Yeah.
He
Very good
certainly
against
was.
Protoss, second best matchup. Protoss in Europe have learned to fear him. They talk a lot about him because he plays differently than almost everyone else.
Yeah, a lot of Protoss do fear him, you're right. Apart from his last loss to Protoss, which was at DreamHack Bucharest, which was against Elfie, and Elfie just somehow wins games that he's like not supposed to win, and like Elfie's Elfie, so
No respect for authority, does he?
we can't look into Elfie too much. He's a wild one, man. But that being said, as is Genius, Genius can bring a lot of aggression early on. I'm expecting that from him, depending on what he actually scouts out, and even if he actually doesn't see what he wants to see, he might just go for it anyway. He's Genius. He's a guy that's built his career on that kind of aggression, time in, time out. A lot of Code S runs, and one, as I said at the very end, against Don Regu in that final, which was, again, one of the most fun finals I've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
But now we can get into game number 1 here of this best of 3 to determine who is the first player advancing on to the round of 8. As we have Belcher Vestige as our first map. Spawning down to the bottom right-hand corner are Red Protoss, representing only Korea and looking for a team himself. Give it up for Genius. And up to the top left are Blue Terran, representing Millennium as well as Korea. I was about to say France. Give it up for 4GG.
If he were representing France, his name would be ForGG.
Yes.
ForGG.
Oh, it would.
Let's see if he changes his name to that. Koreans do have a penchant for changing their nicknames.
Even 4GG does. He was Finn at the very beginning of StarCraft 2. Did he go by something else? He was under the alias Raptor before that as well.
Raptor.
On ladder.
How could you ever drop that alias?
That was pretty cool. Raptor, man. I'm a big dinosaur nerd. I like dinosaurs. They're cool.
Yeah. Didn't you used to want to become a paleontologist?
I did want to become a paleontologist. You're right.
All right, great. So you know your raptors, all right. Or at least you could have if you became one.
Yeah.
So, 4GG going once again with the command center first, and Genius, he's walking across the road. He's not stopping.
Yeah.
He's going to go Nexus first. No, he's not.
That gateway's really, really late.
Okay, this kind of gateway, it's pretty much the same if you make it at 13 or 17. It doesn't matter. The concept of the build is where you get one gateway, and then you get a Nexus at 17. So it doesn't really matter whether you get it early or not, because you're not going to be building anything from it anyway. And there's actually a very small probe cut if you make it at 13. Or not exactly a cut, but sometimes it costs a little bit of resources. He could have made it at 14, 15, 16, doesn't matter. What this build is something we see Liquid Hero do as well. It's a little safer than Nexus first, while still being very economical. Certainly more economical than standard builds where you get your gas and your cybercore before expansion. And it's a very good response to what he thinks 4GG might be doing, which is command center first.
Yeah, it certainly is. He would have been in a little bit of a treacherous water if there'd been, a gas barracks opening from 4GG, but at the same time, as you rightly pointed out, the gateway does allow him a little bit more lenience against that. So it's a nice build to go for here for Genius, and, well, it's going to be pretty much fully spotted here by 4GG.
Now, did 4GG actually scout Showtime? Because I don't think he did. Did he SCV scout?
I don't think so. Ooh, wait a minute.
I'm not 100% sure.
No, I don't
let's
think
leave
so.
that in the middle, but at least he's giving Genius the respect. Like he wants to see what Genius is doing so he can formulate a proper plan. Now, having made 2 barracks behind this, he sees the early Nexus, but he's not going to go for a 3rd CC. And he's not, like he could choose to do that. Say like, now I'm going to make a 3rd CC. There's 2 problems with that, I think. One is that it doesn't flow as well as 1 barracks, 3 CC, because he's already spending money on the barracks, already has it, might as well make Marines, and then the CC will be a bit later. And then he doesn't have that sweet spot anymore, where Protoss either did a 1-base all-in or can't attack anymore. Because Genius economy is very good right now. And so he could do a kind of push, and 4GG at least doesn't want to die to that. So he says, it's okay, we both have an early 2nd base, standard, right? No real big advantage to either one of us.
And there's a very small thing that Genius is doing right now, which is focusing Chrono Boost, or he was focusing Chrono Boost more on his natural than anything. Obviously, it was a little bit better to get the saturation over there quicker than it is to Chrono Boost the main Nexus. That being said, he did just Chrono Boost the main Nexus, so he's just getting out all those probes where he can and being very, very stable. Oh, he's Chrono Boost both Nexi, that's why.
Usually if you Chrono Boost one of the Nexi, it's got to be the natural, because the probe will have a shorter travel time.
Of course.
But if there's already one active there, you might as well also Chrono Boost your main. Now, robo timing is only 10 seconds later than what you would expect from a tech into, like the Cybercore into Nexus. So his timings are really well, and you could say that right now the game has normalized. Although, actually, Genius is able to take very quick extra gases because he has so much minerals with this increased probe count.
And the robo facility is a little bit more interestingly placed than I normally see in this matchup. Normally it's in the main, like a bit more well defended, but this one is right at the natural. Is this for anything different? Does he deviate up here with this?
It's a really good question, and I'm starting to think now that you're asking it. 4GG has relied a lot on scouting with a scan. And perhaps Genius has studied the scan positioning and expects that 4GG will scan exactly in the middle of the main Nexus?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, it's something to keep in mind as we go into the later stages of this game, as the engineering bay will go down. Robo Bay is going down behind this as well, and it's, a pretty standard Robo Bay timing. The factory is just about to finish up, allowing him to get the extra, the starport down pretty quickly. Warp Prism already.
This is kind of funny because it looks in some way, it looks like Showtime's build.
Yeah, a little bit.
Maybe he prepared Double Forge himself, Double Forge type of build.
Yeah.
But Showtime did something very similar to this, where he got a War Prism. It was, granted, it was on game 1, and it was with the Twilight and the Templar Archives, but getting a War Prism off of very minimal amount of units. Actually, I think Warp Gate was forgotten for Genius. I don't think
that's
it can
really
be
late.
normal to get it now. That's why he's making normal gateway units. That's not a new strategy based on gateway units, so that he can queue units or something. No, there's no actual benefit in that. But
And the funny thing is that all the while, during all of this that's been happening for Genius, ForGG having 3 bunkers at the front, that's a lot of defense. So he was anticipating something very aggressive from his opponent, salvaging those now, realizing that, oh, well, maybe it's not as aggressive. But ForGG thought what we thought at the very beginning, that he's going to do something to try and break him, and now he feels a bit more comfortable to go into his normal game.
So he's definitely been playing more scared. It's nice that you pointed out that, because those bunkers, even though you can sell them for almost full price,
it's the opportunity cost.
Yes.
Those
It
minerals
slows
could
you
have been
down.
doing something else.
yeah, it could have been a quicker command center, could have been more units. And we see a completely different game from ForGG here against Genius. So he's also making a tailored approach for every opponent he's playing against.
All right, well, 1 month on the way for Genius. He's going to be chrono boosting those out furiously. Chrono boosting this furiously as well, because he knows he needs it, whilst a few more gateways do litter the map. And I think this, it's just going to be some Zealot Warpins once he sees his opponent move out. Good cannon placement initially, but that's 2 Medivacs worth of units. That could do quite a bit if he wants to drop in.
Yeah, and this is a nice spot for ForGG to drop. He can unpower some of those gateways from the looks of it from the 1 pylon, but Genius smartly put a lot of pylons behind it. ForGG losing only 1 Marine and killing a gateway. Interesting.
And I also like that position. Well, I'll come back to that in a second as the Zealot harassment does occur. Getting 1 or 2 SCVs? No, actually, not getting anything just yet. He was killing some SCVs at the front and then, has to pick up out and go away for now. Well, he's going to try and drop again.
I'm very surprised he dropped those Zealots on top of the Marines.
Yeah.
It doesn't quite have the panache of dropping Banelings on Marines.
Not quite, no, Grubby. Well, a few more bunkers on the way. But what I wanted to say about that drop in Genius's base is that on a map like this, on Belshir Vestige, is that the position he dropped in, if you force out, normally drops would force out a photon overcharge, right? But that left-hand corner of that base is just out of range of photon overcharge.
Yeah.
So that's a really annoying thing for Genius to kind of account for if that drop goes on.
That is true, but I'm thinking here, there must be some kind of idea why he made that cannon there, and he basically made the drop happen in that place, like you said, where there's no photon overcharge.
Yeah.
But that also means it's closer to the natural.
Exactly.
So the army
Yeah.
that's standing in the middle more easily reaches it. That's why the Colossus got to the Marines with just a few seconds delay. Because in the main base, on the right side, there's a cannon and a photon overcharge.
These
So
are really minute details, but very important, actually.
very, very, very important, and everyone should be paying attention to this. Now, what's flying over there? That Phoenix isn't
It's
real.
a Phoenix.
It isn't real.
He's not real, guys. Don't worry about him. But he does get some important information. He sees that the 3rd is down. This will prompt Genius to probably get that 3rd down. He was already trying anyway. But this annoying little Marine, he comes along and says, bye-bye, probe.
Yeah. 3 Colossus, and they're all on the left side of the map. If there were a drop now in the main base, Genius would be quite in trouble. He does have Stalkers there, but they don't trade well against a partly deployed drop already. He's getting Blink, and it was just a few seconds of fragility, and he's fine already. Blink is finishing,
Yeah.
2-2 is finishing, and ForGG usually doesn't drop that much mid-game. He drops early on, and then it becomes one big iron fist from the front.
Exactly. And I have to commend Genius on actually keeping up with him in terms of macro, because if you let ForGG go and fly away, then that was interesting.
Sometimes I stare at myself times a million.
It was like Apollo was descending into the future. But anyway, ForGG's pressuring this 3rd base. This is a fantastic timing from him, forcing the cancellation.
No
In fact,
cancel.
Killed it straight out. That was really, really impressive there by ForGG finding that.
Now, is there a timing for Genius? He killed and zoned out some of those Vikings. Oh, 2 more Vikings are dying.
No.
The others are stuck in a very bad place, and ForGG suddenly feels nervousness.
Yeah, there's only 3 Vikings left. He's got 2 more on the way. He's trying to get down a 2nd starport, but this could be a lot of damage that's done. 4 Colossi with Thermal Lance against Vikings that are stuck.
2 upgrades.
Uh-oh.
Lots of Blink Stalkers.
Yes, he got a Nexus, but he could take a lot of damage here, guys, if ForGG doesn't control this well.
Oh, and more Vikings going down. They're getting a few shots on the Colossus, but don't even break down the shields.
Uh-oh.
This wasn't prepared as a 2-base all-in.
No, it really wasn't.
But it's certainly a good setup for it.
It's very good. This Marine stims out to see exactly what's going on. Genius realizes he has a pretty good spot to do some damage. Excessive bunkers try and go down for ForGG, but it might be too late here. He's forced to cancel them all, and he has to retreat from this location.
Killer Instinct by Genius at work, going for the jugular. Taking down this third, and will then definitely move on to the natural. Charge Zealous is being done, but there are no proxy pylons on the map. This is the army he has to deal with.
Yeah, the second starport did finish up, so he's got 4 Vikings on the way at any given time. ForGG, oh my god.
You're crazy.
You're crazy. He's actually just going to go across the map. It's going to be seen really early, though.
If there were any High Templars with this warp in, they could definitely take down these medivacs, but it's just Zealots. They can just stare in frustration.
They're going to run home as quickly as they possibly can do and try and deal with this themselves. That's a big drop here, though. This could work out for ForGG. It's drawn back the entire army. He's just going to go and focus down the Nexus.
And if he gets the 2 forges as well, that would be huge.
Oh, yes, but he has to pick up in the end. He gets the Nexus, but you were right. If he'd have gotten that forge as well, that would have been catastrophic for Genius.
But too much to hope for, because the Stalkers were there. Very good instincts by ForGG off the timing. ForGG is Doomdrop Skiller versus Protoss. Always do it and works perfectly.
Good
this
timing
case,
on that tweet.
Certainly. Yeah, nice timing.
Well done, guys.
Bad Bourge.
All right, well, the +3 armor is on the way for ForGG. He's going to have to catch up with those upgrades, though, because 3-3 just finished for Genius.
Yeah. Hey, come to think of it, he focused the Nexus, but it's a Nexus that would run out of resources in a minute anyway. Should he have
got the
I'm fairly
forges?
certain he should have gotten both forges.
Yeah.
But if I was playing and I thought of it now, that would be as pointless as me pointing it out now. It's like the heat of the moment, right?
Yeah,
you don't
exactly.
get time to think about things in StarCraft. You just gotta go, go, go.
Yeah, just trying to cripple his opponent's economy here. But that being said, there's 3 High Templar here with Storms as well. He's going to look for those Vikings. If he can kill them off with some Storms, with some Blinks, that'll be good. Army supplies, 130 to 133. Barely in favor of Genius.
Classic ForGG style. No, oh my god, no ghosts. And these High Templars having a field day.
Oh, lovely Storms. Really nice Storms landing on a lot of that bio as ForGG had nothing to answer to it. The bio tries to micro back, but still Storms rain down. The Viking count has been decimated. And now he's just forced. Look at the supply difference.
ForGG got the things done that he wanted to. He pulled back the army. He got a Nexus kill. He got a second Nexus kill. He got his. He didn't die early. But I've never seen him lose this hard to a Protoss.
No, the lack of ghosts. He's like, oh, actually, all those storms hit. Now I guess I'll get ghosts.
Well, we can't just talk about the lack of ghosts, because that's just how he plays. It's his style, and it works a lot for him. But it's just the way the rest of the game went, really, that put Genius in such a fantastic position.
That's true.
Making it look so good.
Yeah, these Zealots charge on forwards with 3-3 here. 3-3 is not done for ForGG, though. And the Vikings on the right-hand side get focused down as well, with some nice storms landing on a lot of that bio. That's too many Zealots. And there you go, GG. Genius takes the first game. And I think what I said in my analysis might be right here. With his New Balance shirt on, he's going to be looking at a very nice New Bank Balance.
What?
New Bank Balance, man. He's got a New Balance
I don't know
jumper
that.
on. I don't know what about New Balance is, but
No, me too.
it's
But he's bringing New Balance to the Force, is what you mean, isn't it?
seemingly. He's doing well with it. Genius, man.
3-0 so far in today's groups.
And this is what we were not fearful of, but I'm gonna phrase it as that. You know, when Genius is playing online, he had a hard time through Challenger, through the first round of Premier. There was a little bit of a shake there. But now, in the offline setting, he is looking really, really good. And it's clear that he's prepared very diligently for these series.
Yeah, that looked really, really good by him. I'm just really impressed. I can't say it any different. I'm super impressed by Genius. By ForGG too in the earlier series. Like, he's really good. But he got a little bit smashed. A little bit.
A little bit smashed. There were some decisions that were interesting. Like, again, you brought up a good point. Focusing down the Nexus instead of the 2 forges, but it's crisis management time. It's like, right, I'm in, do some damage. Nexus, that's a big focal point. I'll kill that off.
Yeah.
So,
it's exactly that, the focal point.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to fly in there. You don't know what you're going to see. You hope it's not High Templars, but you don't know what you're going to see. The Nexus is a confirmed location. Forges, they could be anywhere, and I think if we look back at that, he didn't know where the Forges were, so he already made his plan and he went through with it, just so that he doesn't make any funny, bad decisions.
All right, well, we can go on to game number 2 here, as Genius is looking to advance on with a clean sweep here in the round of 16. But can this man stop him? ForGG, he's out for blood. Pegged as one of the favorites of Season 3. As we now move into Akelon Wastes, and we have spawning down to the bottom right-hand corner, our Red Protoss, currently teamless, representing Korea. Give it up for Genius. And up to the top left, our Blue Terran, representing Millennium as well as Korea. Give it up for ForGG.
Akelon Wastes is the map. The only map that ForGG gave away against Showtime, that he lost, I should say.
And if Genius plays a double Forge style again...
Yeah, I don't see why he shouldn't. ForGG hasn't... Well, he made some changes, but not in terms of, let's say, like an early cheese or anything like that. Not as significant as you might think, like not like a Reaper opening. It's always been Command Center first.
Do you think ForGG would do something like that? Or do you think he just sticks with the playstyle that he's been doing all
He's a Command Center barracks type of player.
Yeah.
And has been for a long time. He's not going to switch it up.
No, no, no. He's sending that SCV already down to the natural, just to get that Command Center going. And then from there, we'll see what Genius wants to do to follow it up. I mean, Genius, one game up, he could throw in something wild. But as you said, I don't think there's any real need to. He looked strong in that game. Cannons in the right positions to deny that drop initially. Didn't allow him to get to the mineral line. Very important, losing a gateway as opposed to some probes. That's a good trade there for Genius.
Yeah, very good trade. Yeah, neither player had any early damage, really.
And the probe's going to head in. He doesn't see Command Center just yet, but once he gets into the main and sees the barracks, he'll know pretty much what's going on. So Genius, for now, he's just going to play out what he wants to. He's changed it up a little bit. Not entirely sure what his opponent was going to do in game number 2. And I think this is a safe, nice strategy here from Genius.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's actually pretty much the same build that he used against Nurcho, where he gets 2 gases and only saturates one of them, gets 16 probes on minerals, and then starts mining from the second. The only difference is he scouted the opponent, not like on Frost against Nurcho. So he might have some plan here. It's not going to be proxy Stargate. It's too late for that, too little gas. Gonna cancel the Zealot and gonna make a Nexus. Funnily enough, well, actually, no one ever engineering bay blocks with the Command Center first, so I was just saying he didn't have vision of his natural.
Yeah.
It couldn't happen.
Yeah, it doesn't line up too well there in this type of build. But Genius, he's going to poke on him, see the 2 barracks, and know exactly what he's playing against. Again, on this map, I kind of have to favor Genius's position if he plays it out. It's a really good defensive map for Protoss. We saw that with Showtime. We saw him establishing his 3rd base and rocketing up in terms of that macro to eventually deal with ForGG, who had a good engagement position, but Showtime just held it, and ForGG has to be mindful of that on this map.
Yeah, staying alive against ForGG is usually the key to victory. If you're still alive after 20 minutes, and he still doesn't have ghosts, he isn't quite like a normal Terran because he can't EMP your stuff. So all the HP, all the shield that you have actually comes into it actually comes into use.
Yeah, exactly.
Your shield actually matters.
It does, instead of being completely negated instantly.
Yeah. Oh, 3 gates extra. That's not a macro type of build.
No, it is not.
And the pylon there already on the perch there. Ideal location to launch an assault while not being too obviously spotted.
A very good spot indeed. Now, how is ForGG going to deal with this? We'll have a scan in a second. What's he going to go for? Is it going to be Mule or scan? He absolutely needs to know what his opponent's up to, because if he doesn't, well, we've seen some fantastic holds from Terrans on this map before.
But he can't. Oh. If he doesn't scan and makes 4 bunkers, he's going to lose. Like in about a minute, or a little bit less than a minute. No, I think in a minute, Genius will attack at like 7:20. There's no bunkers, he can't hold.
It's so funny how this worked out, because in game number 1, ForGG had a load of bunkers at the front without actually seeing any aggression.
And now it's the opposite.
It's got the complete opposite. He has nothing.
Would you say that's a pretty genius way of doing mind games?
I guess so. He's a feisty fella. Oh, why are those stalkers in the middle of the map?
That was his first warp in. Genius sees the mothership core, but hasn't seen the units yet. Genius just wants to get everything together. Time warp. He could follow up with some force fields. No, they're out of range.
At least killing a Marauder off is quite nice, but this should be able to force in. Oh, those Zealots and Stalkers warping in a great position as well, killing off a lot of these Marines and losing these units without having bunkers at the top as well. This is terrible for 4GG.
It's terrible. It's devastating. It's horrible. It's horrendous.
it's really bad.
Yeah,
is what we're trying to say. He has to
That's a
evacuate
bit of an understatement.
He has to evacuate his natural. He has to go back up the ramp. The SCVs are going to try and hold here, but that's still a lot of firepower he has against one Marauder and 2 Marines, one of which just died. He had a few more coming out now. He's trying to wall all this off, but force fields completely seal off this bunker. That dies off. And now all he has is really SCVs and 6 Marines to combat this.
Yeah, 4GG is like, where's the air support? And someone points up and the sky is empty.
GG. Genius advances on to the round of 8 in double quick 2-0 fashion. Oh,
Ingenious fashion.
Ingenious fashion.
Oh my genius.
Oh my genius. That is true. And wow, what an performance from him. A player that a few people, you know, we were just like, well, how's he going to do? Is he going to bomb out? Is he going to do really well? Is he going to be the next Bonjour? What's he going to do?
You didn't just say the Bonjour card.
I did.
Yeah,
I'm so sorry.
No,
it wasn't even
fine.
about a Zerg. No. Oh well. But there you go. Genius advances through to the round of 8 in first place.
And 4GG will go up against the winner of Nurcho versus Showtime.
And this is a weird position for 4GG because a lot of people came into this group expecting 4GG to ace through it. Just straight to the top, straight to the moon. Woo.
No, I mean, me too.
You too?
Yeah.
Me too. A lot of people. But Genius, he proved us wrong.
I hereby forgive Genius for cannoning me.
Okay.
In the round of 32. He's done his job. He went through.
That's very kind of you.
Yeah, sure.
All right. Right, okay, we can go over and find out a few words from the player advancing on to the round of 8. Genius.
Yes, with Genius, congratulations, first of all. Another fantastic victory. StarCraft 2, easy game, right?
스타크래프트 쉬운지 축하한다고.
네, 좀 쉽네요. 축하 감사하다.
He's thankful for the congrats, and he says it seems to be easy.
Okay, 4GG is obviously a fantastic Terran player. You know how good he is. What were your thoughts on that opening game when it started building? It almost seemed like you were teasing him to say maybe he thought you were going to go all in, and then you didn't go all in. Was that part of the plan, or was that not part of the plan? How did you think the first game went?
그냥 첫 번째 판 어떻게 뭐 특별히 전략 뭐 준비해놓은 거 있었는지 그냥 박지수 선수한테.
그냥 박지수 선수가 워낙 잘해서 좀 이기기 힘들겠다 해서 빌드에서 앞서가자고 해서 게이트도 안 짓고 생더블을 바로 했었고 그리고 두 번째 판도 빌드가 엇갈리면서 이길 수 있었던 것 같아요.
So I mean, I asked him before, and he said like, because I told him, hey, you are so good, and he said, I was lucky as well, but 4GG is a really good player, so I was kind of thinking of like some builds and stuff, but then he just went like, he didn't make, went fast Nexus and stuff, just like, was gambled a bit and was lucky there.
Okay, and then second map, talk us through your second map in terms of the way you build.
두 번째 판 전략 뭐 특별히 어떻게 했는지.
그냥 갑자기 와서 그냥 빌 받아서 올인 하게 됐어요.
그 올인 하려고 했잖아 사실 너가 먼저.
예, 그러니까 게임 하기 전에는 운영을 하려고 했는데 그냥 게임 하다가 그냥 빌 받아서 하게 됐어요.
So at the beginning he wanted to do a macro game, but then he came first. So he was like, okay, now I can all in him, and then he just went for it.
Okay, well, as I said before, congratulations through to the round of 8 now. Is there anyone that you fear in this tournament? I know we've talked about MC a little bit, but is there anyone that you really want to play in the quarterfinals?
먼저 8강에서 누구 그냥 겁나 무서운 선수 있는지, 그리고 꼭 누구 만나고 싶은 선수 있는지 8강에서.
8강에서 디조 선수랑 하나요?
그건 is random, right?
Yeah, well, he can't meet anyone from the second places or from his group, so he has to meet a second place player from the other group.
정해진 거 아니야.
아 진짜요?
He thought it's actually he meets someone from Group D, so.
생각을 안 해서 좀 당황스러운데.
I mean, he can meet MC. I mean, because MC finished second.
민철이요?
너는
아.
2등 사람 만날 거야.
아.
너저 빼고.
민철이가 1등으로 왔어야 되는데 2등으로 와서 뭐 만나게 되면 3대 0으로 이긴 기억도 있고 해서 쉽게 털어버릴 수 있을 것 같아요.
He says,
Clean it
like,
up, clean it up.
No, he just said like, okay, he first saw that he gonna play someone of Group D, so he didn't know it's random. So because MC didn't advance as first, so if he meets MC, he gonna beat him because he beat him already 3-0. He just gonna beat him 3-0 and just sweep him out.
We'll see. It's fighting words. And Genius will be in that quarter-final draw, which will be ready for next weekend, the 5th and 6th of October, 2013. So don't miss it. We have one player from Group C. We will have to find one more with 2 more matches to come. But first, let's break down that last game. If you can break down that game, you're also a genius, Apollo.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to my screen of knowledge. We're going to be looking at game number 1 between these two players, because I think game number 2 was rather simple. No bunkers, 4-gate, you're dead. Game number 1, though, is a little bit different. I want to look at the state of equilibrium between the two players, because at this point, I would say the game is rather balanced. It's probably kind of equal. I mean, you look at the supplies, 159 to Terran, 149 to Protoss. Army supply roughly the same. Terran will always have a worker advantage and the faster third base at this point as well. So I say good position for both players in normal game. But I want to look at what changes that state of equilibrium. So first of all, we see an army movement down here by ForGG. This is kind of normal. Pressure, poke, maybe get a couple of snipes with the Vikings on the Colossus. Whatever you want, whatever you can find, I suppose I could say. So let's have a look at this. So we play it on from this position. He scans ahead of time, sees no army. He's like, all right. But then what happens to these Vikings? These Vikings are kind of important when your opponent's playing Colossus-based. Let's have a look. Mistake from number 1. 2 Vikings dead. 3 Vikings dead. 3 Vikings stuck. So 3 Vikings out of 6 are already dead. And the other 3 stuck. 2 more. 5 total Vikings already gone. When your opponent's open up Colossus-based, you can't just throw 5 Vikings away. He boosts out, even loses a couple of units. Now look at the retreating Vikings, which were just hotkeyed with the rest of his army. So now we've lost 5, and then all of a sudden, 8. So now he's lost 8 Vikings, and from this point, it's kind of sad. Because obviously you need Vikings to kill Colossus, kind of simple StarCraft. From this position, ForGG is forced to try to bunker up, try maybe, he can save his third base, but not going to happen as the bunkers don't even get completed. So not only does Genius say, all right, 3 units, he blinks the forward aggressively, realizing his opponent's lost 8 Vikings, and says, free command center, perfect for me. But at this point, it's not all lost. There's actually another command center already on its way here for ForGG, so we can replenish it. The 3rd Nexus isn't super fast either here by Genius, so even though it's a devastating loss, he manages to rebuild the Viking count, and this drop isn't bad. I think Grubby did point out a very key fact. Double Forges would have been the better snipe here, but in the state that ForGG's in, kind of rush, doesn't really know what to do, he's just looking to do anything because he's playing from behind. Sniping the Nexus, all right, because you don't really know how far away 3-3 is from completed. What happens if he tries to kill the Forges, but 3-3 finishes just in the nick of time? So he does whatever he can. Kills the Nexus, 3-3 still on its way, which is kind of sad, unfortunately. But luckily, for ForGG, he is starting to catch back up. He's got his 3rd command center up and ready, he's building a 4th, he's rebuilt all the Vikings he's lost, and he does have decent upgrades himself. And if we look at the supply difference, it's very close, 195 to 186. Army supply a little bit behind, workers are kind of the same, with mules, would favor ForGG. So all of a sudden, you're thinking, well, if we just pause it here for a sec, at this point, you're thinking, well, he's not in that bad a position. Surely he kind of recovered a little bit. And yes, I do agree with you. But there's one observer to the right-hand side here below ForGG's army. And that observer just gives Genius the smart ring a bell upstairs. Because he sees he's moving forward with his army on the left-hand side, comes back, a scan also reveals the army. But we see a mistake here, unfortunately, for ForGG. And this happens, if we pause it, a classic mistake from Terrans. You stim up a ramp, and you never go up a ramp that you don't know what's there. No scan ahead of time, and surprise, surprise, there's already High Templar waiting for him. He gets stormed on his army, and then he's like, oh god, I guess I should run back. And then he runs back into the main army of Genius. No control. I mean, he can't do anything from this position. He's completely dead. He walked into storms. He retreated into an army. And then all of a sudden, that equal supply, which is what, 5-10 supply difference, is now 177 to 127. And from this point out, Genius says, you know what, 4GG? In this game, you've made too many mistakes. You lost 8 Vikings for no reason. You've now lost the majority of your army. You're now going to lose the game. And that's where we saw Genius just come in and clean it up. So quite a straightforward game from Genius, and even more straightforward in game number 2. Looking rather well, and well, congratulations to the round of 8. That's it for the analysis. I'm going to head it over to Red Eye with whatever he's up to next.
Thank you very much. Yeah, whatever he's up to next is about right, because I was watching that thinking, YOLO, stim up the ramp, because I do that all the time, and I often get absolutely smashed. So good to know that it's not just me. Thanks for the breakdown, Sean. Awesome stuff on how not to play TVP. Right, we're going to move on with our next game very shortly. But before we get there, there's a very special promotion right now, and it's called Back to School. It's by our friends at Blizzard. You can find it over on StarCraft2.com. If we actually take a look at the website, I can explain what's going on over there right now. There's some lovely carbot animations on the site. There we go. And best of all for you guys, I want to hear you cheer for this. You get 50% off StarCraft 2. Yeah. Okay. So you get 50% off Wings of Liberty if you haven't already got it, and if you haven't, then why the hell not? And 25% off of Heart of the Swarm. It's all on the page, the details, the video, and what have you. Go there, check it out right now. StarCraft2.com. It's on the front page of the website, and you can get yourself some cheap StarCraft 2, which is very nice for you to go back to school with. I'm not sure if you're going to learn more StarCraft, but if not, you should. I'm going to take a very quick break now, and when we come back, we will have our lower bracket match. It's the Battle of the Europeans. Can Showtime stay alive? Can Germany's last hope make it through to the lower bracket final? Or is it Poland's finest Zerg, Nurcio, that tries to make it through as the last man from Group C? We'll find out very shortly. Stay with us.